This week on Indian Motorcycle Radio, fall riding tips. Yeah, and these are good for all motorcyclists, bikers, and motorcycle enthusiasts like you.
I'm back, baby!
Welcome to Indian Motorcycle Radio, and I'm your host, Reverend Kenn Blanchard. This is the show about Indian motorcycles and the people that ride and love them. What's up, cool people? I'm back. I took a little bit of a vacation because I had some quarantine and some isolation issues. My son actually had COVID-19, tested positive, and then I had to do the dreaded colonoscopy because, the dude from Black Panther died of colon cancer, and a couple of my podcast buddies around the country had some cancer issues. So I was like worried, man. The old dude was like, I have never taken that doggone test. So I had to go through that, and one of the good folks here on Indian Motorcycle Radio found out that he had prostate cancer. So I was a little sensitive, So I got through all that, and the family is good. We made it through quarantine. My son is okay now, and he's actually back to work and healthy. He's a mixed martial artist, so he probably got it sweating on somebody's chest or head or something. The guys are like Gumbies, and I'm thinking, dude, stop. Don't you know? There's germs out there. But just like me, he ain't listening. I'm hoping you're doing all right and ready for the fall riding season. That's what we're talking about. When I first started riding, I was 16 years old. I think that was back in 1976. We had the bicentennial thing going on. There was a oil shortage. Gas was so bad we had to have lines, and you had to get your gas on odd and even days depending on your house number or your address or whatever. It was like a weird time. Jimmy Carter was the president. How many of you were riding back then? How many know what I'm talking about? Yeah, I'm getting old, but it's a good thing. Back then, I got in between my parents. They had an argument about he can ride a motorcycle if he want to. No, he can't. And my mother, of course, being a mother, did not want me to be killed riding a motorcycle. So she said no. But my dad, who was full of himself at the time, said, I'll get him a bike. And I won. The bad part was I started school in September. It got cold at the end of October. I had a jumpsuit that was like quilted material. This was before Gore-Tex. I had some boots that were not insulated. I had some gloves that were not insulated. My helmet was cheesy. It was, I forgot how much I paid for that thing, but it was basically foam covered acrylic, and I was cold. By the time I got to school, from October till early December when I quit riding and started hitchhiking, I'd be a frozen popsicle in first period. I didn't warm up till about 10 o'clock. My hands were almost numb. I was cool, though, in my Honda 350, riding 15 miles one way to school. I lived in a lower middle class area, and the school that was at the bottom of my hill was not that good. And I wanted better education for myself. So I got into that NJROTC program way across town at the University of Maryland, the school where actually Jim Henson went to. Didn't know that at the time, the high school. And that's where I started my world. I got some tips for you of things that I've learned about riding in the fall. It is the most beautiful time to be out there riding. The cool, crisp air, the colors of autumn. Can't deny it. It's best to be on a bike in the fall. Well, if you're in California or down in the Southwest where the things don't change, you might not know. But up here, near the nation's capital, up until New York area, New England, it is wonderbar. Damn pretty. But you got to watch out for some stuff. The first is your doggone tires. Due to colder nights and cooler temperatures, your motorcycle tire pressure is going to go down a little bit. You're going to need to check your tire pressure for accuracy and make sure that it is inflated so that you get some good contact on the road. And if you have been riding like a banshee all summer long, you might need some new tires. Now is not the time to be riding on some bald ass tires. Do you understand what I'm talking about? During these colder weather rides, these cooler nights, tread and grip are very important because of what? Leaves and water and dampness and all that good stuff. You know, your tires will take longer to warm up during these colder temperature days. And these first miles of your morning ride is not going to be as smooth because your tires are hard. Your tires will not likely warm up to the point where you're getting that nice soft rubber contact to the road. So take it easy when you first get started and make sure your tire pressure is right. And here's where I get a little jaded. Like if you have that big wheel on the front, that's not my thing. People like it. I like it for probably a show bike, but I wouldn't do it on a regular ride. Make sure you have some good stock tires, some stuff that's supposed to be on your bike that can handle the weirdness. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like firearms for me. I don't want a hyped up firearm for my regular carry pistol. I want to make sure that when I need it, it's there. There's not some funky gizmo that I just bought because it's cool looking, but might not work when I really, really need it. You feel me? Next piece, check your lights, baby. Now that the days are shorter, you're probably riding in the dark when you first get started. So check your lights, make sure your brake lights, your turn lights are all in great working condition. They make some really cool stuff now with the LEDs that there's no reason that you should be riding in the dark, that everybody should see your big behind before you get there. That beam should be just brilliant. And if you have stock lights, update them. There's some really cool stuff out there right now. I did not have that thing when I was riding to school. That little light bulb only probably shined 6 feet in front of my front tire. Not the case today. Don't be like me. You want to be able to see. And people, you want them to see you. Can I get amen, somebody? Even if you're living in Florida or Arizona or somewhere where it's the same as it was in February, consider replacing your headlight bulb with a super brighter DOT approved model. And that can definitely change your view of the road and, of course, make your presence to oncoming traffic. I know you can replace the light bulbs with some non-DOT approved stuff, off-road stuff, there's colors and all that stuff. But I'm saying stay away from the colored bulbs, which sometimes are illegal and distracting, and put something that puts that line of sight way ahead of you. That's what you want. You can also add some, what I want to say. You can actually put some reflective pinstripe tape on your bike too. It can be like cheap, but you can do it really well. Make it like pinstriping, and you can put it in places that you can't really see it when it's daytime. So if you're like, don't want to mess up the lines on your bike, or you don't want to make it look real gaudy, put that reflective tape on your helmet too. I mean, just go nuts with it. Get real fancy. Take some thought to it, some reflective tape. Put it on your gear. Put it on something. And wear that doggone vest that nobody wants to wear. A high-vis vest is cheap, but folks can see you, and that keeps you alive. I want you to live, okay? And I'm preaching to you because I love you. I'm preaching to you because this is Uncle Ken. Uncle Ken wants you to be around so that we can ride together. I ain't trying to mess up your cool, you know. All right, that kind of blends me into talking about what you're wearing. Don't forget to dress for the season. Leather jackets are really cool, and they even have stuff now that's lightweight and keeps you warm and keeps the air out, because hypothermia is no joke. It diminishes your mental and your physical riding skills. You could be the bomb diggity on a hot day, but when you get to uncontrollable shivering and numbness and weakness, loss of fine motor skills, mental confusion, and loss of consciousness because of hypothermia, then the stupid stuff happens. That's when you miss the leaves and the holes and the animals and the stupid cager that just forgot that you were there. During these cooler times, it's really important to preserve your body core's temperature. And the key to doing that is to not expose your skin, especially that little spot between your gloves and the top of your jacket, to that cold airstream. Now, this probably ain't your problem because you probably wear insulated full finger gloves. You probably don't wear tight fitting combinations of riding gear. You're probably layering your clothing, and you're dressing in layers so that you can adjust as the temperature changes. It's going to get warmer later, and you're going to know your weather's forecast before you ride. Some people like electric riding gear. Haven't got into that yet. I think I've tried it with what did I try it with? I think it was a vest that I had. Somebody let me loan me a vest one time, and that thing was too hot. But check out the clothing options. Look for stuff that you can layer, that you can keep warm. Don't be like me, freezing in first period, hands still numb. Could barely get my hand off the throttle because it was stuck like that. And don't forget your rain gear. Sometimes during this part of the year, it gets really foggy and misty. And even though it's going to burn off and be really nice on your ride back home, that little bit of mist and water will condensate on your face mask, on your skin that's exposed, and bring your temperature down. Be careful of that as well. Don't forget your rain gear, that you can pop that stuff out. If you got some bags, if you got a backpack, if you got a way to carry a slicker, it's almost more important to do it now than you did in the summertime. Nobody wants to ride in the deluge or hurricane like we've been having, like hundreds of them, but you do want to make sure that you protect your core temperature. All right, one thing that I did talk about was the tires. You can also make sure your battery is tight. You can get one of those battery tenders from Amazon or from a local dealer that you can connect on inside your garage or your shed or whatever you got to your battery so that it has a trickle charge, so that it keeps and maintains a positive battery charge. The worst thing you want to happen out there is that you let your stuff go down now in the dark, having your lights flicker or not be like bright. So make sure your battery is strong and get a battery tender. You can hook up a little wire that hooks to the battery that you can pull off and disconnect it from the battery tender to the house, and it'll keep your thing in the green. I'm just saying, make sure your battery is fully charged. Colder weather makes your battery work more, and it can lose its charge quicker under normal, dry, warm conditions. Just saying. All right, I think we talked about the what you wear, about your lights, about your battery, about your tires. Have we mentioned the road surface? Be wary of frost on the roadway in the early morning hours. Also, those dreaded leaves. You know, leaves can be like ice. Yeah, they look cool when they go rattling past you, but when they're wet and they stick, you will lose all kind of traction on your tires. Be very wary of wet leaves. Heck, be wary of dry leaves. They can actually hide potholes and other stuff that's in the roads that you wouldn't even know were there. So wet or dry, riding through stacks of leaves can reduce your traction, making it difficult to stop. All right, this never happened to me, but it did happen to my nephew and happened to a friend of mine just recently, where a deer and a motorcycle collided. Now, that is some weird crap. You would think with all this going on, the sound of your bike being loud and all that, that the deer would get out the way. But I think those things have like a suicide pact. They're like really sad with their lives. So they just sit there and wait for a car or a motorcycle to come by and they go, okay, I'm going to end my tired existence. And they just step out in traffic. So if you see one of these suicidal deer, slow down and do something. Raise an arm, stick out a leg, flash your brake lights to ensure that people around you also know. And if you pass a deer near the road, consider flashing your high beam or honking to warn oncoming drivers and riders. There's some stuff that you can do. Deer populations peak in the spring, but the risk of hitting them on the road peaks really in October, November, and December during the time when they are trying to mate. They call it the rut. Deer are on the move at this time of the year. It's also the time of the year when mature adults weigh the most, making collisions that much more worse. Although you can encounter a deer at any time of the day or night, they are most active between early morning, midnight, and then again at first light. They typically spend the middle of the day in deep cover, but most deer are not really forest dwellers. Got to be like a hunter and just anticipate them being there. They're near their food sources like standing corn, most crops, oak trees, acorns, orchards, and they love the tree lines. These days, they're not even afraid of people or cars, so they're on the road. And if you're riding through a place that has a sign that says, beware deer crossing, please, please, please pay attention to that. That means you're in the zone. And if you're crossing near cornfield or a place, slow down and pay extra attention. Don't outride your headlights distance. deer are herd animals. If you see one crossing in the road, know that there's another. If they're little babies, that means they're even stupider than the old ones. And they get born in twos sometimes. So there's a twin baby probably coming right behind it. Make sure you watch out for that second one as well. Oh, yeah. And those two guys that I know that actually had collisions with their bikes, my nephew, the deer hit his bike and got stuck in it. And him, the deer, and the bike all went down together. And he survived. The bike didn't. The deer survived as well. And my other friend, the one we talking about the helmets earlier up in New York State, I think he took a beating. I mean, he got beat down, had to do some hospital time, broke some ribs and stuff, but wearing that full face helmet saved his life because he went over the bars. Now, around here, we got squirrels that just love to tease. I say, the hell with them. Just ride and they'll get out the way. The same with fox. Possums sometimes will just stop and freeze. So there's a lot of small game animals that you also have to worry about early in the morning that are trying to get from point A to point B. Be careful out there. I ain't trying to scare you now. I'm just trying to give you some thought so that you can ride smarter, ride better, have more fun. And maybe if you got some camera gear on your bike, you can actually take pictures of these critters as they cross in front of you to give credence to what I'm saying. All right, not trying to sell you helmets or glasses or equipment or any of that stuff, but make sure that you got good stuff for the glare. You know, the sun is lower in the sky at this time of the year, and the glare can be an issue for much of the day, depending on the direction that you're riding. So along with this, as trees become the bearing of leaves, the patterns of lights, and the shade can be like riding in a strobe light, you might need some good polarized glasses to keep you from being distracted or confused. Good sunglasses, not the cheap ones, or a good tinted visor work the best. And be sure not to forget your clear visor so you can switch for the ride home or when you start off and it's dark. Again, common sense stuff, which sometimes we just forget because we're having so much fun. And finally, I'm a big proponent of, I lost my train of thought, a big proponent of boots that are a little bit taller than work boots that can fit under the shifter, boots that protect your ankles and the top front of your boot, boots that are slip resistant so that if you step on some wet material, some leaves, it doesn't take away from you, that you actually can get some grip. What I did was I took a pair of my favorite cowboy boots that look real good, and I changed the bottoms of them, changed the whole sole of the shoe, had the leather that was there replaced. It was already worn out, and they were good alligator-looking boots, and I wanted to keep them, so I had the bottoms changed for riding so that they have the slip-resistant, the rubber insulated kind of thing. It didn't really even change the look. You can't really tell when I'm just standing up on them, but they feel better, actually. So think about that. You can actually buy a pair of good boots that you like and have them changed by a good cobbler. They still have them out there. So if you don't find the boots that you like I love a good pair of cowboy boots. They're way up, almost up to your knees. Got some ankle protection. They're not insulated. You need some good Gore-Tex socks and all that good stuff with it. But they still work a lot better than some other stuff. Just some stuff from your brother, from another mother to think about. And give you another excuse to buy another pair of boots. I love looking at Revzilla and a couple of other companies that sell boots just to see what's good. And then I make my own. Now, I don't know how many tips this was. I didn't count because I'm just running my mouth. If there is something that I missed that you think would be good for the order that others should know about, please feel free to send me a note to kenn.blanchard@gmail.com. That's Ken with 2 N's, so I can share it or share it on our Facebook page for Indian Motorcycle Radio. And I've been taking some of the photos that you've sent me and trying to put them on our Instagram page, also Indian Motorcycle Radio, and just share the love. You guys got some great looking bikes. And thank you for those who have encouraged me to, hey man, where you at? We just found you. And I was thinking, nobody knows. I didn't think nobody cared, but I'm glad you're still here. And I really appreciate the brother who bought me a cup of coffee and paid for this month's hosting account, which also gave me impetus to keep on going. I'm hoping these tips make some sense to you. Remember to plan your journey, check the weather forecast, check your motorcycle battery, check your tires, check your lighting system, wear the right gear, watch out for them doggone leaves and the road surfaces. Be careful of your sun glare in your eyes and your helmet and all that good stuff. And be careful of the animals, the deer and the moose and all those other critters that are out there. And just enjoy. Enjoy the freaking fall because it is beautiful. This is the time to ride. And I'm right now without a motorcycle. Yes, it's true. Haven't bought one yet. But I've been watching Cycle Trader and looking at stuff locally and waiting for the motorcycle ferry to grant me my wish. I want to give a quick shout out to Rabbi Israel, who sent me a nice link to some bikes in Florida that are a nice price too, but they are way the heck in Florida, which is like 1,500 miles from me, I think, or more. But in the spring, doggone it, maybe even after Christmas, something will break. All I need is a good $19,000 and I'm good to go. But I'm not going to let that kill me or stop me because something is going to happen. I believe that things can go well. And they already are. I mean, just getting through this period of our lives has been a challenge. And I'm really appreciative that you're here rolling with a brother. Allow me to talk and wax poetic about the stuff that I love. Motorcycles and motorcyclists. If you got a good ride, if you got a good photo, if you got some information you want to share, some tips, please email me. Let me know so that I can either have you on the show and share this information. This is our show. And even though it's Indian motorcycle specific, it's good for the order for all bikers, cyclists, and motorcycle enthusiasts. And although this is an excellent time to become a missing person, I'm glad you're here.
Hey, do you like this show? Here's a way you can help. Visit buymeacoffee.com/motorcycles. Help me make this a listener-supported podcast dedicated to good people like you. Buy Me a Coffee is a way you can encourage and help me continue to bring you Indian motorcycle radio. buymeacoffee.com/motorcycles. The link is in the show notes. Thanks. All right, my friends, that's it for this week. I want to thank you for listening, downloading, and subscribing to your favorite righteous podcast, Indian Motorcycle Radio. Now may the road rise up to meet you. May the wind be always at your back. May the sun shine warm upon you. And until we meet again, may God hold you in the hollow of his hand. Kickstands up. Let's ride.